Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to go in depth. How much do I need to retire at age 62? And I want to discuss a couple of things, try to help you understand where your current situation is, or what I like to call your point A. Then also understand what your specific goals are, how to get you from your point A to your point B. Show you common mistakes that individuals make when they're just kind of guessing and they're just kind of shooting from the hip and they don't really know how to create a proper strategy for their goals. And then solutions to combat those mistakes. So different things of how, you might not be mindful of a specific negative that you're setting up with your current retirement plan, and it could really bite you in the butt if there is, a downward market disaster, or you're pulling out too much money. If you're in your retirement years already and you're pulling out too much money, how to avoid those common mistakes. And then I'm going to go off of specific examples to show you when somebody's nearing retirement age or they're currently retired, how they could stay retired forever. And what you realize with this video and with a lot of my explanations and different things on my channel is it's not these astronomical changes. It's these very slight shifts that, as long as you're creating these slight tweaks and it's going in the correct areas, the correct lanes, that's how you're going to be able to retire with confidence each and every time. Definitely make sure to have a pad and paper, pad and pen out, and you take down notes, write down questions. At any time that you want to speak to a specialist, give our 1-800 number a call. It's 24/7 customer service line, so you give us a call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you just basically reference this video. You say, I saw a video online about retiring at age 62. There was a couple of topics that Derek was speaking about that I think might pertain to my situation, and the assistants will make sure that the correct specialist will give you a call and help you figure out what your situation is and how to accomplish that most success. So as I clear up the screen, I want to make sure that I'm educating you off of common things that you might have experienced with your current plans, and what was essentially the shift that took place for retirement plans in the past. What are you now susceptible to, and what are some different question marks, and how to basically close up a lot of those gaps. So what used to happen, and understand that all this education is all going to come full circle on when we're going off of some specific plans and some specific strategies. So just kind of, even if you understand some of these topics, just bear with me on at least the first portion of this. But what happened in the past was individuals were able to work for a company and they were offered something known as a pension plan. So I use the example many times of my grandfather. My grandfather was the elevator mechanic for the city of New York, and he was working for the city. The city was essentially his main employer, and they said, okay, as long as you're giving X amount of years of service, what we're going to do is define what a benefit is for your retirement. So we're going to be paying you a salary, each and every day, each and every week, until you hit that type of retirement age. If you give X amount of 30 years worth of service, at that age, we will start paying you a type of retirement income so that you don't have to ever come back to work, but you'll be receiving X amount of dollars per month for both you and your spouse. And when the second spouse passes away, that's when that income is going to stop. So that's known as a pension plan. It's known as a defined benefit plan. My grandfather in that example, he was able to just hunker down, work hard, put in overtime, whatever that was, be loyal to the employer, be loyal to the entity that he was working for, because he understood that they were investing dollars on the back end that would get triggered, that would pay him X amount of dollars of income each and every year until the day that he passes away, or him and my grandmother pass away. So with that defined benefit plan, that makes retirement planning very easy, because at that point in time, he retired in his late 50s, but let's just say if he retired in his early 60s, he would be able to receive whatever that pension income was. He didn't have to invest these monies in 401k related plans. He didn't have to go and try to cherry pick and choose the best funding options available and manipulate that with the stock market or the bond market and try to really cherry pick to grow his retirement nest egg. He just basically worked for the company, and the company was providing him that benefit on the back end. So rather than try to make his retirement formula extremely complicated, we understand that when he retired, if he was in his early 60s, he could trigger his pension income. And let's say that brought him $4,000 per month. and then also Social Security income that you could take earliest at age 62, if that brought in another $2,000 per month, this is $6,000 per month of income. So as long as his income each and every year, or as long as his income each and every month, him and my grandmother's income each and every month, were greater than what their expenses were, they could live their retirement years with confidence. Their income is higher than what the expenses are. So if now, let's say if he was bringing in $6,000 per month, but he decided, oh, I worked my whole life and now I want to go and piss all this money away and, try to ring up my debt and go on all these lavish vacations, and now he needs $10,000 per month of income, that's a large gap there. So the first step to trying to retire early is make sure that you understand what your expenses are and understand what your budget is and stick to that budget. There has to be a type of, hold your feet to the fire and make sure that you're not just, patting yourself on the back for working so many years. There has to be a reality to the situation. If you want to go and try to, piss money into the wind after you retire, that's going to result in a very large mistake. And what's going to occur is you could try retiring when you're 62 and then realize, oh my gosh, I have no more money left by the time you're in your 70s. And now you have to go back to work. And, everything that you thought of retirement being this great, wonderful thing did not occur. So the first thing is you definitely have to stick to a set of rules, stick to a specific plan. The most important one is be conservative and understand what your expenses are and really own what your expenses are. So now I also understand that individuals watching this video, majority of them unfortunately do not have pension plans, or if they do have a pension plan, it might be, such a small dollar amount and there might be some other savings involved that you had to save yourself. So this is where you had the implementation of ERISA, the ERISA Act of 1974, which shifted how retirement plans, worked. And what happened was, rather than the risk being thrown onto the employer, so like my grandfather's situation where they were investing dollars on the back end to provide him a set retirement income stream for him and my grandmother until the second spouse passes away, and they're trying to calculate what that actuarial data is to say, okay, we have to give away X amount of dollars per month, but realistically they're going to pass away when they're in their 80s, their 90s, and we're going to utilize the law of large numbers. That entire ball game and that employer risk has shifted after that ERISA Act of 1974. And what it did was it allowed individuals, it allowed employers to create sorts of retirement plans for employees that the employees could invest themselves and therefore transfer that risk from the employer directly to the employee. Hence the implementation of the 401k plan. So if you've ever heard these retirement terms, a pension plan could also be known as a defined benefit plan off of a 401k plan or other type of qualified plan like a 403b, a thrift savings plan, 457 plan are known as defined contribution plans. And it's not that complicated of a term. All it's saying is that the employer defines what the benefit is under a pension, as opposed to the employer just defines that you could contribute into that plan, defined contribution plan. So that's basically the more complicated of the difference between defined benefit versus defined contribution. Now, with 401k plans, the way on how these work, and actually let me clear this off, how a 401k account grows, I want you to think of that like a bucket. As you have an individual that's working for an employer, the employer is obviously paying this individual a type of salary or income, and now they're saying, okay, when you start working for us, we're going to give you your employee benefits package, or it's going to have your health insurance, life insurance, different ancillary products, and then also you could add dollars into a 401k each paycheck or every pay period or each month or at the end of the year, whatever that case might be. So as this person's getting paid, let's say this individual's making $100,000 in a given year, and they decide to put away 10% of their salary into their 401k plan, that shows that the contributions being placed into that 401k plan are going to be $10,000 for that year. It's basically a percentage off of whatever the salary is, and then that's what's going to add in the contributions. 401k plans, in order to further incentivize somebody to add dollars in there, the employer saying, hey, we're not just completely screwing you over and not giving you a pension plan. What we're going to do is try to still retain good employees here, or at least provide you an incentive to invest into this plan and to try to stay with our company. So we're going to give you something known as a match. So this is where you might see like a 3% match off of your money. So if somebody's making $100,000 and they put 10% of their salary in there, that's $10,000. They're going to also receive $3,000 of a match. If they put $3,000 in there, then they're also going to be receiving $3,000 of a match. If they put $1,000, which is only 1%, they're only going to receive $1,000 of a match. So it's usually up to that specific percentage, and then sometimes you have different variations of that. But the point I'm trying to make is this 401k bucket, or these qualified employer-sponsored retirement plans, they grow by the contributions and the rate of return that's associated with that type of 401k bucket. So the rate of return, these are determined by the different funding options available. So rather than having the employer invest those monies for you on the back end and decide how much income you're going to be receiving by X amount of years of service, they're saying, nope, we're washing our hands of this. We're going to tell you, okay, you have about 10 to 20 funding options to choose from, but it's all on you. You know, we might give you some different educational pieces, or might assign a financial advisor that you could ask questions with, but ultimately it's whichever options you choose. Think of them as eggs in your basket. That's what's going to determine what your rate of return side is. So when you had the implementation of ERISA in 1974 and then the implementation of 401k related plans in 1978, well, now you had this large shift from defined benefit plans to defined contribution plans. And what did it do to the stock market? What did it do to growth rates when individuals were contributing to their 401k? And now what you're doing is you're releasing a fire hose. This whole baby boomer generation is now adding more and more and more dollars into the market. So now we saw this extreme growth on a rate of return side on these 401ks and these types of qualified related retirement accounts, or investment related plans. So as an example, this is a chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average from its inception, and it's showing you that yes, during certain time frames, the market went up, the market went up, the market went up, the market went up. It was more gradual, and then all of a sudden, what happened from 1980 through 1999? You had over a 1,270% gain into the market. So it's like that fire hose that's being released into the market, and therefore it's inflating the rates of return from all those individuals that are placing more and more dollars into their employer-sponsored retirement plans as a defined contribution retirement-related accounts. Now, what occurred from 2000 going forward was obviously we had the tech bubble bursting, we had the Great Recession, and most importantly, we now had individuals that were pulling monies out of the market to live off of for retirement income. So the purpose of showing you that chart was now you have the pressure of baby boomers that are needing to retire, so they need to liquidate their positions out of the market. You don't have enough of the Generation Y and the millennials that are saving their monies to basically offset that switch. So this is why we're seeing, constant market volatility. And it's not so much like, obviously the market's been doing really well for the past year or year and a half or so. The point that I'm trying to make is that you can't just set it and forget it anymore. You now have to have a strategy. Because if you're going and you're trying to accumulate your dollars, like when somebody's planning for retirement, when they're nearing age 62 for retirement, they're in something known as an accumulation stage. So what they're trying to do is efficiently, from their point A to point B to that retirement age or to their retirement years, they want to efficiently accumulate these dollars. In order to efficiently accumulate those dollars, they have to make sure to eliminate as many holes out of this bucket as possible and eliminate when this rate of return side comes back negative, like a 2001, like a 2008. And case in point is in 2008, you had average portfolios lost anywhere between minus 30% to minus 60%. So if somebody walked into the year with $1 million and they said, okay, great, I'm going to retire, I'm going to pull out 50 grand out of my 401k related bucket or qualified retirement related bucket, they pull out that sort of money, then they get drilled with a 40% drop or a $400,000 loss. And then on top of it, they were paying, 1% in mutual fund related fees, 1% in advisor fees, or we'll call it 10 grand, all these different micro shifts that are further negating how much growth is actually occurring in that bucket. So this person would have walked into the year with $1 million in this hypothetical example and would have walked out of the year with minus $470,000. Their new account value would be $630,000. They pulled out 50 grand and their new account value for that next year is $630,000. That's a lifestyle change. That's something that you want to eliminate at all costs, something as drastic as that. And I'm not trying to go and just say, okay, this is something that will never happen. These are things that have happened. These are things that I've seen it with many individuals that have called me up after the fact regarding their retirement accounts and regarding just kind of setting in and forgetting and hoping that they were with an advisor that knew what they were doing. And, it's just very unfortunate with a lot of those cases. So what I just explained in that segment was reverse dollar cost averaging. I'm saying that it's basically the power of compound interest that could negate retirement accounts, and it's basically due by compound interest of negatives. So when you have, if you're investing your monies, your 401k related accounts or different retirement related accounts, let's say you're investing in mutual funds and different really expensive related accounts or investments, those are fees that are involved with there. You might be leveraging a financial advisor. Those are additional fees. So think of them as little holes in your bucket. If you get hit with a downward market loss, that's a further negative. That's a further hole or a larger slice of that bucket. And when you start pulling out income, that's a further negative. That's another hole that's coming out of it. And let's say that you now have to combat inflation because your cost of goods and services might be increasing to purchasing power risk throughout your retirement years. So you want to make sure that you at least have a plan set up for inflation, because if you have to pull out more money, that's going to be further holes out of this bucket. So what we're seeing is the power of compound interest. Rather than work towards that account and work favorable towards that account, it's actually starting to negate and making individuals outlive their retirement savings very easily. So for the first stage, when you're nearing that age 62, if your ideal age is to retire at age 62, you just want to make sure that the closer that you're getting there to that stage is you just want to be very efficient with what your fee structure is, what the funding options that you have available to you. So like with a typical 401k related account, I say there's about 10 to 20 funds to choose from, or 10 to 20, think of them as eggs in your basket. So if you're controlling, basically the dollar amount that you're able to control into a 401k plan is your contribution side. This rate of return side, this is where you have the investments, and you just want to make sure that you want to have proper asset allocation, meaning it's always good to participate in the stock market, but what happens with the stock market? The stock market could go up, stock market could go sideways, and the stock market could go down. Proper asset allocation means that as the market's going up, how could you receive a gain into your account? As the market goes sideways, how could you receive a gain into your account? As the market goes down, how can you receive a gain into your account? So something that might not be correlated, or you have a combination of different things that are not correlated to each other, so you could have more of that safety and eliminate those large drawdowns, those large downward market losses that are further compounding that reverse dollar cost averaging effect. And what I mean by that is different asset classes. So, one asset class might be stocks, and then you could break that up into like domestic stocks or international stocks. Then another non-correlated or negative correlation might be bonds. Then you might have commodities, and break that down into, gold. You might have real estate is another one. So you have these slew of combinations that you might have available in your 401k through different indexes or different mutual funds related within there that will give you a proper asset allocation strategy. So, that's something that as you're nearing that ideal retirement age, how exactly can you be more efficient, more effective, with that strategy? And that's something that we try to help out with. We run like 401k stress tests, and we try to show you different, actually, science and math behind it to see what might be ideal for your exact situation with the eggs available in your basket to choose. Now, why is age 62 such like a, focal point? And the reason why is because age 62 is when you could trigger Social Security income the earliest. Now, you have some advisors that they'll say, oh, always wait till age 70 to trigger. You have some advisors that say trigger income, Social Security income as early as possible. My philosophy on it is it's whatever works for your specific situation. Each situation is going to be different, dependent upon you and your spouse, the different ages, the different sorts of benefits, the survivorship benefits, different things that you could leverage within the Social Security income system is ways on how you could supplement that income. And we understand that as long as your income in retirement is greater than what your expenses are, you will have a confident and happy retirement. So the large misconception, though, is individuals try to associate Social Security with Medicare. Now, Medicare, which is a health insurance for obviously senior citizens, right when you're hitting age 65, you could have something known as like a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. It's basically health insurance on a national scale that you're eligible for when you hit that age 65. This does not mean if you're triggering Social Security income early at age 62 that automatically your Medicare is going to kick in at age 62 as well. That is not the case. You have to wait until age 65 for that Medicare, the Medicare supplements, and all those different plans to kick in. So, if you have the hopes of retiring at age 62, but therefore now you have to come out of pocket at some astronomical price for that health insurance for those next 3 years, it might make more sense to wait those extra 3 years just so that you could trigger Medicare or make sure that you at least have Medicare umbrella over your head, to have your health insurance covered. That's a very large expense. That's something that could liquidate retirement accounts very easily if you come into those medical ailments. So just make sure that, as you're saying age 62, it does sound good, but make sure that you have your health insurance that is set up at that time. Also be mindful that if you trigger Social Security income at age 62, that's going to be a reduced benefit than if you wait till age 63, which is going to be a reduced benefit than if you wait till age 64, 65, whatever that case might be. So if you're going to the SSA.gov and you're looking at what your Social Security number is, you're going to see some number that's going to say what your earliest, your age 62 monthly income will be, and you're going to see something also known as FRA, full retirement age, and that's going to be, dependent upon the year that you were born. It might say like 66 and 2/3, 66 and 5 months, whatever that is, or 67 and X amount of months, whatever that case might be. That's your FRA, your full retirement age. And then you also have something that shows you what it would be at age 70 if you trigger Social Security income. So case in point is, if you're triggering it earlier, you're going to have less of a benefit, less of a monthly benefit than if you wait later, as opposed to you waiting, the latest you can, which is age 70. So, it really depends upon that situation. If somebody is, knows that they have a debilitating ailment and they might not live that long, 10, 15 years only, it might make more sense to trigger at age 62, as opposed to somebody else that has really good genes and they know they're going to live past the age of 100. Well, maybe if they don't mind working and they don't want to trigger that Social Security income just yet, well, maybe they wait till age 70 and they have that, that larger Social Security payout at that point in time. So, it's really depends upon their situation. We have different calculators. We have different, different reports that we help individuals out to figure out what that number is. But ultimately, it depends, most importantly, what your expenses are. What your expenses are, what you're bringing in, and exactly if, that specific income with your Social Security and other retirement accounts can be greater than what those expenses are. And understand that concept that if you're pulling income earlier, you're going to have a reduced benefit as opposed to waiting longer, you're going to have a larger benefit, because that Social Security concept also correlates with pension plans. But let's say if, somebody sufficed their 30 years worth of service and they're 59 years old, they might be receiving X amount of thousands of dollars. But if, let's say, they've sufficed those years of service, but then they're not triggering their pension until they're 62 years old, that might be a higher dollar amount. So they're going to incentivize you to wait longer to therefore start paying you out that sort of income. So that's how some pension work. That's also the main concept of how an annuity works as well. This is when you have like a deferred annuity, you're going to, let's say if somebody's 60 years old and they're looking to trigger income from that deferred annuity at age 65, maybe they might receive 50 grand of income, as opposed to if they wait till age 67, they might be able to receive $56,000 of income. It's that same sort of concept. The earlier that they're triggering it, the less dollar amount that they're going to be receiving, because they're calculating the risk of saying, okay, well those are that many more years that this person is going to be able to receive of income. So the less years, meaning that if they have this mathematical date of death stamped on their forehead of age 90, well then, this is the difference of 25 years that the insurance company has to, pay out, or statistically from the Social Security Administration has to be paying out until that actuarial data showing how long that individual is probably going to be living to. Or if they wait till age 67, well, maybe that's going to show 23 years. So therefore, they're able to give them a larger benefit. So there are certain break-even points. It really just depends upon your situation, and that's what we try to help you guys figure out most efficiently. Now, the most important takeaway with this video is to understand how can you customize your plan to make sure that you're able to retire at this age 62, so you can figure out how much you actually need to retire at age 62. And this is when individuals could leverage IRA contracts, individual retirement accounts, And you could take your old retirement accounts and you could roll them over into customized IRA accounts so that they're being segmented into specific lanes that are ideal for their age 62. So let's say if this person's 55 years old right now and they want to retire at age 62, this is their point A, this is their point B, how to make sure we're getting there most effectively, most efficiently, and then from point B all the way to date of death, that's the overall plan. That's the overall piece of the puzzle. Let's say if the person's age 60 and they want to retire at age 62, well, now we have a smaller gap there, but now you might be eligible to do further rollovers with this type of plan. So what exactly am I talking about when I'm saying rollovers and individual retirement accounts? Now an IRA, a traditional IRA, is very similar to how a 401k works, except for it's set up by the individual, it's not set up by the employer. So the way on how this computes is by the contribution somebody's making in there and their rate of return. The major difference is this rate of return side. Now the contribution limits, if you're trying to set up a regular IRA, the contribution limits are going to be less than if you're trying to contribute through a 401k chassis on that qualified basis. But for the customization purpose, this rate of return side is extremely important. What I mentioned on the 401k section was I said that typical 401k accounts have about 10 to 20 different eggs in your basket to choose from, or different funds in your basket to choose from. Typically those 401k funds are crappy funds, they're shitty funds, or they might be super expensive, or they just might be cruddy where there's not a lot of diversification that you could choose. So when you go and you set up an IRA, instead of 10 to 20 different eggs in your basket to choose from, you might have options between 3,000 to 5,000 different eggs in your basket to choose from. So these could be a lot higher quality, a lot cheaper of a price. Different things to really accentuate that rate of return side. So when you're eligible for certain rollover provisions, the IRS allows you to utilize these old types of retirement accounts, such as the 401k, such as the 403b, different things that you could go and instead of have those very small contributions as if you were just trying to create an IRA account on your own, which you might be capped at $5,500, $6,000 in a given year, depending upon your age. They're saying if you've incorporated this 401k, you could actually do large rollovers into an IRA. So like if you have $1 million into your 401k account, well, you could go and if you're eligible, roll over that dollar amount into a specifically designed IRA contract. And now we understand that contribution side, that's what that rollover consisted of with the bucket. But now your rate of return could give you a whole slew of different options available that could be more, that you could cherry pick a lot better for your exact situation. Meaning like if you're trying to grow your account, how do you have a better asset allocation strategy? If you're trying to trigger income, well, how could you have something that would provide you a type of income rider, like utilizing an IRA annuity contract? Or let's say you need something with emergency funds, something that you could have in a regular, IRA money market account that you could access at any point in time. Something that just builds up and has different pieces of your puzzle and specifies it in specific lanes. This is the power that you could do with these IRAs or with these rollovers or IRA to IRA transfers to make sure that everything is ideal for your retirement age 62 or age 62 until date of death. And this is where it goes off of the terms of what every individual needs to figure out before they're retired or currently retired and how to stay retired forever. Breaks down into three main components. I've briefly discussed the first component, which is income sources. The other two components are emergency funds and then inflationary protection. If you could figure out these three things and have these three things covered, you will always retire with confidence. And what I mean by that is, let's say if we take an example of an individual that was working for a company, they might have a very small pension plan. They're wanting to trigger Social Security at age 62, so they have Social Security, that's another income source. And then they also have an old 401k account sitting at an old employer of $200,000. Let's say this person is currently age 60 right now, and they're contributing to their current employer 401k related account. And let's say that's valued at about $500,000. So they want to be, trying to max out those contributions, or they're trying to contribute that, most efficiently, most effectively. But once again, their ideal retirement date is age 62. So first off, we want to know, okay, we have these little buckets that are sitting there. This is an old 401k. This is a current 401k. this person's age 60, which allows them, this might be an age service withdrawal that they could basically take their current 401k account and roll that over into an IRA account because they've sufficed age 59 and a half or age 60. That might be one thing that makes them eligible. Because let's say if they're not eligible at age 60, they have to wait till they sever employment with that employer in order to do the rollover. Well, then you could at least roll over this $200,000 in the old employer, because when you suffice working, when you no longer work for that company, you therefore have the eligibility to roll over those old 401ks. Or if, let's say, this person established an IRA and has been contributing to an IRA account, well, that's something you could transfer an IRA to a new customized IRA account. So there's a whole slew of different things that makes this third component of the income source favorable for that individual situation. So the first step is to figure out what are their current accounts, how are those current accounts held, are they eligible to roll over those current accounts to have it into a better IRA account? Does it make more sense to go and roll that over into an IRA and to customize that option? Does it make more sense to just leave it at that 401k account? So we want to figure out what exactly they currently have, and then what exactly is the goal. This person says that they're currently age 60. They have $500,000 sitting with their current employer. They have $200,000 sitting with an old 401k. At age 62, they're going to have pension income stream that they're eligible for, that they're able to receive. And let's say that's going to bring them $20,000 a year. And let's say at age 62, they're able to receive another $30,000 of Social Security income. So right there, it explains in a very generic sense what their assets are. Income sources. What exactly are their expenses? And how much has their income sources already suffice what their expenses are? So let's say that we go and we send this client, this prospect, a budgeting sheet, a budgeting analysis to say, okay, let's figure out at your current age 60, what are all your expenses right now? At age 62, what are your expenses going to be? Are you no longer going to have a mortgage over your head? What exactly are, this going to be a reduction in expenses? Everything to the decimal point as best that you could fill that out. You could look at budgeting sheets. You could look that up on Google. We also have ones at our office that we just basically send over to you and we explain to you. But it's not that complicated. It basically says, okay, what's your expenses? What's your monthly expenses? What's your monthly income? All these different things. So let's say at age 62, we understand that this person is going to need $70,000 from age 62 to the day that they pass away, them and their spouse passes away, going forward. So what it tells us is that they're able, between the pension income and the Social Security income, that's going to bring them 50 grand. But their expense gap is larger. They need $20,000 of income to live off of for retirement monies. Let's say if this individual decides they're not going to try to utilize the IRA route and they're not trying to set up an actual plan, they're just going to roll the dice and hope that their accumulation strategy that they've grown these dollars to, this $500,000 over there and $200,000 in their old 401k account, they're just going to basically, stay susceptible to that risk. What they're doing is they're leaving themselves exposed to that reverse dollar cost averaging effect of saying their 401k is going to have different 401k related fees. If, let's say, they want to go and utilize an advisor for that to monitor their accounts for them, that's going to have an additional fee. That's going to be an advisor fee. Let's say if they're just leaving themselves susceptible to downward market losses, well, now that's a third negative. Now they're going to try to pull out more and more income. So if they have a large drawdown, a large downward market loss that occurs, this could liquidate, even though it is a lot of money, $700,000, this could liquidate it very quickly if they're not at least taking a proper approach. What used to happen back in the day where individuals were able to say, okay, I have these old 401k monies, these old retirement monies, I'm just going to go and leverage, fixed contracts like a bank CD or a fixed annuity that's paying me 10%. So as long as they would go and put a portion of their assets into that type of financial product, they'd be able to live off the interest each and every year. Well, unfortunately, those fixed related accounts no longer are paying 10%, and they're now, you'd be lucky if you find a bank CD that's paying for a 5-year 1.50%. So the entire ball game has shifted where now you have to take on a little bit more risk, or have more of a systematic plan in place. And this is where you have like a lot of IRA annuities with their lifetime income riders that became very popular, especially after the 2008 market crash, to allow the individual to control their monies and still leverage the insurance company to provide them what that additional income gap is. So as an example, somebody on this first stage, because they're trying to receive lifetime income, well, they could get that through a pension, they could get that through Social Security, they could also suffice this additional gap through an IRA annuity. The reason why I say IRA, or traditional IRAs, is because this current 401k, it's sitting in a qualified retirement account. The old 401k is sitting in a qualified retirement account. If you try to just liquidate those monies and throw it into your checking account, you're going to get dinged with full taxation. So when you do a rollover, it's just creating a new qualified retirement account, so it's being transferred over successfully without getting dinged with all those taxes. You're going to be taxed each time that because these monies are known as pre-tax qualified retirement accounts, each time that you're taking a distribution out, you're going to have to pay taxes on that because you haven't paid taxes on on those monies yet, but you're not getting paid taxes on that additional, on that rollover. That's why it's important to know the difference between a rollover or a transfer rather than just liquidating your positions and falling victim to that common mistake. So in this situation, out of the $700,000, let's say they're eligible to roll over these dollars. Well, maybe it's going to cost $300,000 in the top annuity-related product, IRA annuity product, at their current age 60 to trigger income at age 62 that will provide $20,000 of lifetime income for both, that person and them and their spouse till the day they pass away. So out of the $700,000, what happened was $300,000 was rolled over into a fixed type hybrid annuity contract, meaning an annuity contract with an income rider attached to it for lifetime income, and it cost them $300,000 while they're still maintaining control of those accounts and they're still able to leave whatever they don't use up to their beneficiaries. And that's a whole nother conversation. You could review videos on different IRA annuities and different things that I've had out there, on my Retire Sharp channel. But understand that we don't want to try to go after the full dollar amount. We only want to put the correct dollar amount into that specific lane. So the income sources, we want to take $300,000 in this hypothetical example towards the income source IRA lane. So this is IRA number 1, and this is telling us that they will receive $20,000 of lifetime income. If this person, lives till 120 years old, that's still going to be suffice because they leveraged $300,000 of their original $700 to go into the IRA number 1. IRA number 2, rule of thumb is that you want to have anywhere between 6 to 12 months of expenses towards some sort of emergency funds, meaning liquid cash. So out of this $400,000 that's remaining, maybe this person wants to take $50,000 and put that into an IRA money market account. Something that they could access at any given time. It's not going to gain, it's not going to lose, just something that they have extremely safe that they could access in case of an oh my gosh moment that occurs. So now that tells us that we have $350,000 more left to invest with. And now this could combat that inflationary need. When I say inflationary need, maybe at age 62, their expenses are $70,000, but maybe at age 67, that expense is going to increase to $75,000. Maybe at age 72, that's going to increase to $82,000. So you're going to have some expenses that are going to be fixed, some expenses that are going to be tied to purchasing power risk and inflationary risk, like the cost of goods and services increasing. So this is how you could grow your account most effectively, most efficiently. You could utilize this through an annuity laddering strategy, or you could set that up with different managed money concepts, proper asset allocation, different things that are a lot cheaper cost, different things like tactical managed money or passive strategies, things that will just make a lot of sense, that will make more sense than leaving it with your current 401k related accounts. So in that hypothetical example, we took two different, account situations of $500,000 and $200,000, and we might have created, 3 separate IRA accounts or 5 or 6 separate IRA accounts that are now being customized to a specific need. As long as you get step 1 and step 2 covered, that inflationary stage is something that you could have a little bit more fun with. You could say, okay, well, I'm going to have a more risky growth strategy, and anytime that account really does well, then I'm going to take an extra vacation that year. Or you might want to have a fixed conservative strategy that just says, I want to make sure that I'm having a return, of my money rather than on my money. So you could splice this up in a whole slew of different ways on that step 3, but what we're not doing is we're not guessing. We're at least, placing these IRA accounts into specific lanes to make sure that, yes, you could retire at age 62, but how much you need to retire really depends upon what your expenses are, and making sure that you're not splurging. You're not just, patting yourself on the back and saying, you worked hard and now you deserve this and now you could be, foolish with your money. You, more than ever, you have to have a strategy, because with retirement, you only have one chance to get things done correctly. Many times what we see are negatives of somebody, having these $700,000 accounts, and then they'll go and try to just throw that all into specific investments. And even though the reports are coming back that the investments have a 80% chance of basically providing them enough income from now until the date of death, that's still a risk. We only want to see things that have a 100% chance of success. 80% chance is not good enough. And the case in point would be like if you're going on an airplane and your pilot comes on the loudspeaker and says, "Hey, congratulations, there's clear skies and we have an 80% chance of getting to our destination successfully." You're going to see everybody running for the doors and trying to get off that damn plane. That's the same way you have to take your retirement and your retirement lifestyle, in your own hands. Is you only want to see 100, or what I always recommend is 100% chance of success, to make sure that we're leveraging all components, and it will get you from your point A to point B all the way to date of death successfully, and so that you don't have those worries. So I hope that all that makes sense. Let's say if we're going through those 3 combination of things, and same situation, somebody has $700,000, but their income sources of their pension income are $40,000, and Social Security income at age 62 is going to be $30,000, and they have $70,000 of income, but they only have $40,000 of expenses. Well, you definitely do not need to leverage an income annuity as your first step, as your IRA. You could automatically go to step 2 and say, okay, well, 50 grand could now be my IRA number 1, and it's just going to be in a money market account. And then now step 3 could be more spliced up into several IRA accounts that have more of that risk. Or you might be able to just leave it into that 401k related account and not even have to stress about, pulling those monies out or having a concrete strategy. So, obviously that's a good situation, but all because I'm mentioning the words annuity, or I'm mentioning the words, manage money and all, doesn't mean you have to go into that lane. Each situation is going to be different. It's just making sure that you're understanding the basics of it, and these small shifts could have a very large impact towards, successful, confident retirement. So in closing, I hope you found value in this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. At any point in time that you found something interesting, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A more efficient way on how you could schedule an appointment with us would be to go to our website. It's going to be in the little URL attached at the description of this video, is retiresharp.com, or you could type in afassifinancial.com. It's all going to bring you to the same place. And you're going to see a little icon that pops up on the bottom right-hand side. It says schedule an appointment or book your strategy session. So now you could specify it a little bit better and say, hey, I really want to make sure that, based upon your schedule, based upon your calendar, you'd say, I'm really interested in retiring at age 62. Please make sure that the correct specialist gives me a call at that time. And there's many times I'm the one making the phone call, so you could you could ask to speak to me directly, and I'll be sure to help out your exact situation. So once again, I hope you found value in this, and give us a call and we'll try to help you out best way we can. And thank you so much for watching. Take care.